Hello friends, welcome to my channel Lawyer's Room. My name is Vinay Verma and I am an advocate and a chartered accountant. I practice before Delhi High Court. Friends, in this video, I am explaining the transfer pricing implications that will arise due to transition of LIBOR. Friends, multinational organizations generally undertake international transactions in the nature of financial transactions within their group, which involves the transactions in the nature of lending or borrowing of loans at an interest rate falling under two different tax jurisdictions. The rate of interest on such kind of a transactions are typically based on LIBOR-based interest rates. Indian courts have also accepted LIBOR as one of the acceptable rates to benchmark international transactions where loan has been extended outside India by an Indian company to its related party, and also in cases where Indian company had trade receivables in foreign currency due beyond a specified period of time. In those scenarios, Indian courts have accepted LIBOR as the acceptable rate. Friends, in July 2017, Andrew Bailey, the head of Financial Conduct Authority (FCA), indicated that by the end of year 2021, the FCA shall not request the penal banks to quote LIBOR rate. This shows that the industry has to transition from LIBOR-based rates to alternative risk-free rates, which are referred to as RFRs. LIBOR is a benchmark which is regulated and administered in United Kingdom, but the same has been used globally, and discontinuation of the same will have a major and a global impact. LIBOR is referred to as a benchmark interest rate at which major global banks lend to one another in the international interbank market for short-term loans. In way back 2008, it was alleged that LIBOR panel banks had been collaborating with each other to decide the lower rate of interest that will support traders to generate profits by investing in LIBOR-based financial products. Post the investigations carried out by US, UK, or Europe, many banks had to pay penalties and fines for such kind of a act. This led to certain serious concerns about the publishing of LIBOR. Then FCA recommended that LIBOR submission should be based on transactional data rather than penal bank estimates, which was the practice earlier. Because of this, now FCA decided to shift from LIBOR to RFRs that are based on actual transactional data. Till date, FCA has recommended Secured Overnight Funding Rate SOFR and Sterling Overnight Index Average, which is referred to as SONIA, as a alternative benchmark rates. Such rates are generally risk-free as compared to LIBOR, which carries some kind of a risk, and especially such rates are risk-free because they have been quoted based on transactional data from the active markets that are collected by the relevant central bank and do not place reliance on any panel bank estimate rates. LIBOR also carries bank credit risk, whereas the rates such as SOFR and SONIA do not carry such kind of a risk. The continued uncertainty of the publication of LIBOR post the year 2021 and acceptance of RFRs is making it more challenging for the market to be overly proactive. It is prudent for various markets to begin taking certain steps towards the transition of LIBORs. Friends, if I now talk about the financial agreements which would be impacted because of transition of LIBOR, first, I'll explain what kind of a financial agreements are there in the market. Typically, a loan is extended by a bank or a financial institution to a person based on certain factors, which include credit history, which is the major factor of that applicant. The interest rate charged by banks are either in the nature of a fixed interest rate or a floating interest rate. A fixed interest rate is a rate of interest wherein there is no fluctuation happening during the period of loan, whereas the floating interest rate fluctuates or moves up and down along with the movement of market or the movement in the index. In case of foreign currency loans, the interest rates are generally charged on floating basis like LIBOR plus a small margin on the same. That margin is depending upon the credit history and certain other factors, which is derived by undertaking a robust benchmarking analysis, which is another step-by-step process. And LIBOR is the market-driven rate. Pursuant to the cessation of LIBOR, such agreements would need a modification wherein the interest rates would be based on the negotiation happening between lender and borrower. And during the negotiation process, the interest rates may be decided based on a fixed interest rate or a floating interest rate. If I talk about agreements wherein LIBOR based rates have been agreed, but those agreements will continue beyond the year 2021, such agreements include a clause in relation to interest payments to be made by the borrower to the lender, and such interest rate is typically an arm's length interest rate if I talk about an agreement which has happened between two related parties, between two different tax jurisdictions. And after the phase out of LIBOR, the multinational group would be required to identify or collate such kind of an agreement which require modification in interest rate clause. And new interest rates would be based on RFRs. This would be again a newly negotiated exercise to decide the rate of interest, for which a fresh benchmarking analysis would be required to be undertaken. Friends, conversion of LIBOR into RFRs is not a simple exercise, and it definitely requires certain kind of comparability adjustments to be undertaken. Further, if I talk about the agreements may also include certain fallback clause, fallback clause in the agreement to tackle with a situation wherein LIBOR is unavailable for computation of interest charge. The interest rate should be market determined interest rate applicable to the currency concerned in which the loan has to be repaid. Interest rates applicable to loans and deposits in the currency of borrower and in which the loan is to be repaid normally determines the rate of return on the money which has been lent. Since terms of loan is also one of the critical factors while entering into a financial transaction, any amendment happening in relation to the term of loan would also require a fresh benchmarking analysis. The Indian taxpayers may face a challenge to form such kind of a amendment agreement, as benchmarking analysis may not provide a similar interest rate as was agreed at the time of entering into the original loan agreement. Also, to be borne in mind is that due to the negative impact of COVID 19 on borrower entity depicting a weak financial health would generate a speculative credit rating with substantial risk. Thus, there are more chances that the interest rate will go on a higher side when a fresh benchmarking analysis is to be undertaken pursuant to cessation of LIBOR and an amendment agreement is required. In such a scenario, I would recommend and it would be beneficial to consider the average of last 3 years of the financial statements of the borrowing entity while determining the credit rating of the borrower entity. Friends, if I talk about the new agreements which are to be entered once the LIBOR is phased out, that is, after the year 2021, the taxpayer would require to follow a robust benchmarking analysis, which is a step-by-step process and a systematic exercise, and has to ensure that comparability factors are met to determine an appropriate arm's length interest rate. And to fix this interest rate, the reference can also be taken or drawn from the third party loan agreements, which are available as external comparable agreements in the market. Also, interest rate will have to be decided based on the new index as the benchmark rate which is available in the market. And there are certain other implications also which are to be borne in mind post cessation of LIBOR. The government of India may relook into the safe harbor rules wherein the LIBOR reference rates are mentioned, or the existing APA agreements, advanced pricing agreements, wherein such transaction the rate of interest is dependent upon the LIBOR, or thin capitalization provisions which are introduced in the Income Tax Act, and the secondary adjustment provisions. All of them entail adoption of LIBOR based interest rates for applicability of interest rate on the amount of loans or the guarantee fee. The government of India will have to define applicable interest rates based on the location of borrowing entity or the borrower entity or the country wherein the borrower is situated. Friends, another issue which may arise is that taxpayers may need to analyze the difference in LIBOR and the RFRs for calibration of valuation and risk management models for agreements. And such models generally entail the use of LIBOR as a discounting factor for valuation purposes. And post cessation of LIBOR, this needs to be revisited. The taxpayers will also need to reassess if the amendment in the agreements may pose a challenge in the jurisdiction of their counterparts in the another country in terms of accounting treatment considering the IFRS, and therefore such agreements would also be required to be identified which may pose challenge in terms of accounting treatments. Friends, if I have to conclude, the taxpayers should begin now analyzing the impact of shift from LIBOR to RFRs on their existing contracts or the agreements, and the taxpayers now will have to adopt a new method of pricing in accordance with transfer pricing regulations so as to ensure that there does not happen any disallowance of interest expense. And needless to say, such kind of exercise is always involves a litigation risk which is inherent in the LIBOR transition. Friends, I hope you liked my video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel Lawyer's Room. Also in the comments, please let me know the feedback of the video. My contact details are also mentioned. In case you have any doubt, you can mail me at lawyersroom2020@gmail.com, and I would be happy to reply to your email. Thank you.